What's a secret you would never tell your significant other? Story 1. How challenging it is to navigate through their depressive episodes. Some days I'm so exhausted from picking up the slack, taking care of the kids, and working. It's hard to find compassion. I know he didn't choose this. Some days are just harder than others, and today was one of those days. I love you more than you'll ever know. Story 2. A few years ago, one of our cats died after we had her for 14 years. We were all heartbroken and devastated by her loss. We noticed something was wrong on Thursday, took her to the vet on Friday, and she died late Sunday night. The night she died, I sent everyone to bed and stayed up with her. She kept getting into the bathtub and lying down instead of the bed we had set up for her. Just before she died, she let out a horrible scream and went into convulsions. Then she just stopped breathing. I never told my spouse or kids about those last few moments. I just told them she slipped away peacefully. I still want to cry every time I think about it. I will never tell them the truth. Story 3. How hard it actually is on me and my psyche to keep the family going. My wife is suffering from severe depression combined with schizophrenia. We had it a bit under control at first, but it got worse after the birth of our son. Now he is in high school, and my wife's condition is the worst it has ever been. She cries all the time, sometimes sleeps all day to stop the crying, always sees everything in the worst possible way, and worries about little things that are months away. The medication is helping a bit. She now hears voices less frequently, and the doctor is trying to find the right medicine and dose, but it's still exhausting for me. I have to work, do the grocery shopping, and cook. Our son is on the autism spectrum. He himself doesn't seem to mind or think much about it, but as parents, we are quite worried about his future because of his quirks and problems. I always tell my wife that I'm fine so as not to worry her or trigger an anxiety attack, but the truth is I feel completely burned out. Over the past 18 months, I've turned to alcohol a lot, but I'm trying my best to cut back because it's so taxing on the body. I work as a freelance translator, where rates are low and everything is a rush job, so taking a break or traveling isn't really an option. I get stomach aches when there's too little work, meaning little income, and also when there's too much work at once and I have to turn down some offers. Even smaller jobs sometimes feel overwhelming. Old hobbies aren't fun anymore. Mostly, I just sit there browsing memes so I don't have to think too much. But giving up isn't an option. We've made it over 22 years together, and I won't quit. I'm just a bit tired, that's all. Thanks for reading this scrambled mess. Story 4. I'm broke right now. I love my girlfriend, and we started dating when I had a brand new job I was excited about that paid quite well. I was terminated, in my opinion, wrongfully, and I had no recourse through unemployment. I DoorDash most of my free time when we aren't together, and I end up spending most of it going out. She knows I lost my job, but I don't think she knows that DoorDash pays shit and I have a lot of bills. She doesn't mind if we stay in. She doesn't mind splitting the bill. We sometimes split the bill or stay in. But I mind. I have some childhood trauma that results in me being hyper-focused on money in a very survival way. My last breakup, my partner expressed wanting to go out more and that I was always too busy or tired working, so I feel really sensitive to that. I can't afford this relationship right now, but I got some promising word about jobs, and I'm about to be approached with an offer that I think will be better than my last job. The company said they're just working out the details and are going to give me a call this week. She's been sweet and so understanding. But every time we hang out, despite loving the time and thinking this is the healthiest relationship I've been in, at the back of my mind, I feel like I'm being avoidant of my issues. I'm late on my credit card bill. I do mental math every time we go out. Sometimes we go to dinner and my tip, while always a decent tip, is calculated precisely so I don't get my card declined. It's really stressful, but I love her. She's so understanding. I don't think she knows how bad it is, and it's not her worry to worry about. I try to seem pretty nonchalant. When I get my first paycheck from the new job, she deserves to be treated to a really nice, fancy dinner. Again, she's expressed she's totally fine staying in or splitting the bill. I feel like that's a loving sentiment, but in reality that would cause resentment over time. The fact it's being navigated with understanding and love makes me feel very positive about the future of the relationship, but I also feel like it's been a lot of self-inflicted pressure. I feel extremely embarrassed. She paid for my dinner tonight, and while it was only $20, it's been at the front of my mind ever since. I feel like a loser. Story 5. I actually told her everything. I even shared something I couldn't even share with my therapist about my OCD. and she just stayed. I told her the most horrid things that go through my mind, and when I expected her to be repulsed and leave, she simply held me. Every single time she held me and calmed me down. She helped me go through all of my diagnoses and work through them together. It was very hard on her, and I feel bad about that, but she stuck around. Despite how difficult I was, and sometimes still am to be around, especially before treatment, she chose to stay and work through it. When I messed up badly, she stayed. She helped me grow as a person more than I could have ever imagined. She saved my life. She is the light that guides me through my darkest times and the soft, calming breeze that comes in the peaceful moments. More than my wife, she is my partner and my best friend. She cherishes all of my achievements, no matter how small or big, whether she understands them or not. Like when I got my fire cape in OSRS and ran to her room. Although she doesn't understand it, she was so excited, hugged me, and kissed me. She is everything I could hope for and more than I could ever imagine in a person. I know you won't see this because you don't like Reddit that much, but I will love you forever. Story 6. That he's not enough. He would make a great traditional breadwinner, but I don't need him financially, and we've already discussed that I won't have kids. He is unadventurous, has a scarcity mindset, doesn't naturally share many of the interests I care about, and doesn't communicate to the degree I believe is healthy in a relationship or take initiative in planning things, trips, shows, fun activities, special occasions. Ultimately, this leads to a smaller life than I want and doesn't make me feel like we are actively choosing each other. I'm not interested in dating anyone else, and I love him tremendously. I'm truly rooting for him in life because he deserves a good one, and given his background, I understand the nature of some of these shortcomings. He is very stable, resilient, and a genuinely moral and good person. I don't know anyone else like him to that degree. But relationship-wise, it feels lonely and not enough. I'm dealing with this by taking more solo or girls' trips. Most of our fights stem from me wanting to travel more than he feels comfortable with. Though financially we are both fine. Continuing to put effort into my other relationships, my mom, girlfriends from different phases of life, and embracing more hobbies and activities on my own. We now have a dog, which has been nice. It's helped provide the affection I needed and also made the household load more visible and shared, and he's been able to feel fulfilled by taking on the provider role there. Story 7. We're not miserable, and I don't resent him in any way. We have a pleasant life together. It's more that I've realized I'm not the right person for him. But he's exceptionally codependent to a fault, to the point where he insists I'm perfect and there's no one else for him. I am not perfect, and I think the things I want are simply not what he can give, no matter how much I ask or communicate. Sometimes I feel bad, because he would likely be happier with someone who shares his interests, doesn't care about the things I care about, or wants different things than I do. It creates a weird dynamic. If I were awful and made him miserable every day for years, he still wouldn't leave or tell me I was wrong or that he didn't like how he was being treated. In some ways, I fear completely destroying him if I were to leave, because he insists I'm everything he wants. In reality, he deflects any conversations about what he wants from me or how I could make him happier. It's not a fair or balanced dynamic, but it's the only way he seems willing to operate. And for the record, while I don't think I'm the right person for him, I also don't think someone else would necessarily be better for me. If anything, I've come to realize I might not desire romantic relationships at all. Story 8. I think I've told her everything. But there was one secret that took me literally 10 years to confess. I wrote her a song a few weeks after we met, but it was actually an older song I had written years earlier with the words changed slightly. She thought I came up with it in 10 minutes. She loved it so much that I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth. I also didn't think our relationship would last very long since we had met at a random summer school job and lived in different cities. The worst part was that she kept bringing up the song, saying how much she loved it. The longer I kept it, the more the secret ate away at me. Over the next 10 years, instead of telling her, I wrote about 7 more songs about her. I tried not to play the original one. I'd say, "Nah, I don't like that song. These other ones are much better." But she'd respond, "But that's my first song you wrote me." I finally told her. She wasn't happy, haha, but now she admits the others are better. Story 9. While I would love to have another child, I won't for reasons beyond this. I know I wouldn't want another child with him. I'm starting to resent him so much that even his kisses annoy me because, by the end of the day, I'm so overstimulated, I just want to bury myself under a blanket and never come out. I do 99% of the childcare, housework, financial planning, errands, and keeping track of everything, even when he's off work. I brought this up before I was even pregnant. He promised he would be a present parent and an equal partner. I told him I never wanted to raise a child completely or mostly on my own again after helping raise some of my siblings. It was a huge fear of mine. He's only gotten lazier at home since around my third trimester. I had a complete breakdown a few days ago after accidentally spilling a glass of water, and that's when everything finally exploded. I told him exactly how I felt and what I needed, very openly. I've said all this before, but hoped he would finally realize how much I'm struggling. So far, there have been no changes. He'll be off in a few days, and we'll have no excuse then. If he doesn't improve, I'm demanding couples therapy. My final 2 secrets. If that doesn't work, I'm only staying with him until our child is school-aged, and I've already started working on a plan to leave if needed. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but thankfully I insisted on having my own separate savings account that I could deposit into whenever I wanted. I love him so much. I just can't do this. I don't want my child growing up watching me miserable. I want to make this work. I want to save this marriage, but I have to acknowledge that my husband might not want to change until it's too late. We're both children of divorce. I never wanted our baby to grow up like that. Last night, I held my baby and cried, apologizing that I couldn't give him the happy family I wanted. We were a dream couple before all of this. Story 10. That I've cheated on all 3 of my exes. He only knows about the most recent one, and he knows my reasoning was that I was being abused and wanted to leave but couldn't because my ex literally tried to kill me. Cheating was my way out. He knows I had a somewhat open relationship with my second ex, but he doesn't know that I broke the boundaries we had set for that openness and slept with people my ex didn't know about. I don't want to tell him because I know he wouldn't be able to trust me if he knew, but I was a different person back then. I've done a lot of work in therapy to understand why I made the choices I did. If I could go back in time and make different choices, I would, but I can't. I would never cheat on my current boyfriend. I love him too much to hurt him like that. He's someone I can see myself building a life with, and that means more to me than any fleeting validation I might get from a meaningless hookup. Does he have a right to know about my past? Maybe, but I'd rather let the past stay in the past instead of bringing it up and ruining the future I hope to have with him. Story 11. That she claims to be my rock, but she's not someone I feel I can rely on at all in my hardest times. She's emotionally unavailable to my needs, and only hers seem to matter. Most days I have to pretend to be okay, because when I'm weak, she just seems annoyed and disgusted with me. This time of year is always hard for me. She knows this and the reasons why, and this year has been the hardest yet. I've been having paralyzing panic attacks. I tried to open up to her yesterday, and she just said, "It's so hard to be your everything, to always be your rock." But she isn't. After 9 years together, 7 married, it's only getting worse, and I'm contemplating divorce. She never wants to talk and never takes me seriously. I love her more than anything, but I feel like I've abandoned myself, and I miss who she once was. I stay, hoping she'll come back, and because my children and our grandchild absolutely love her. Story 12. The last serious partner I had, the one who truly got to know me best, only knew the surface of my colorful past involving gangs and dealing. She always tried to learn more, but after making the changes I needed to be free and have no debts or ties to that life, I never wanted to look back. The guilt and memories were enough to remind me why I walked away. I didn't want my current or future family to ever have to deal with it or be a part of it. The strain I put on my mom and younger sister because of my bad choices was already more than enough of a reminder. My family still brings it up from time to time, and if I ever slip up by showing even a sliver of my anger, I always get the looks and the reminder of who I used to be. 7 years later, and a certain cultural side of my family still hasn't forgotten. Story 13. When we first started dating, I was in a bad place mentally and didn't have much dating experience. And during those first 3 or 4 months, I seriously considered ending the relationship a couple of times. I tell myself, well, it's not fair to break up with him out of the blue without first explaining what I'm concerned about, fully expecting I was laying the groundwork for an inevitable breakup. But every time I brought up an issue, he would calmly and kindly acknowledge my concerns, and we'd work out a solution or compromise. I love him and would never tell him how unsure I was early on since I obviously don't feel that way anymore. I think it would break his heart if he knew. I feel guilty whenever he calls me a wonderful person for being patient with him during those first months, but I can't think of a good reason to burden him with that knowledge now that it's no longer an issue. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, activate the notification bell, and share a similar story or anything you'd like to say in the comments. See you next time.